Alrighty, we are back with fantasy baseball tiers going into 2026, and I am going to jump into third base. We've already done catcher, first, second, and then we're going to do third today, and then I'm working on shortstops as well as we speak. So let's jump into third base. It's a very, very interesting position. There's some elite hitters up top, and then it kind of falls off as we go through tier like 1 to 3. I would say after tier 3, it kind of falls off pretty hard. So let's jump into it. First guy, not really a question, Jose Ramirez. 30 home runs, 44 stolen bases, 85 RBIs, 103 runs, a 283 average, and a 360 on base percentage in 2025. Pretty much elite from all 5 categories. Home run, stolen bases are an elite number. And then 103 runs is great. 360 on base percentage is perfectly fine. Also a pretty high batting average as well. So let's jump over to his Baseball Savant page. He pretty much everything backs up what he did in 2025. He is 33 years old now, but still has an elite XBA, squares the ball up pretty hard, and his bat speed and average exit velocity have definitely ticked down in the past couple of years a little bit. And he is getting a little older, but sprint speed still is there. I still expect a good amount of stolen bases, and he provides consistent power. He's really been pretty much a top 10 fantasy asset for the past like 5 seasons at this point. So I really don't expect much to change. I think he's a solid pick in the first round. If we go over and sort by third baseman just to see where they're going on average, Jose Ramirez is going around pick 5 on average. I think that's a fine spot. In some leagues, I would even take him at the 4 spot. I like Ohtani. Obviously, Ohtani, Judge, 1, 2, or Judge 1, Ohtani 2, and then probably for me it's Juan Soto. And then you could think about Bobby Witt or Jose Ramirez. I think both are fine picks. Given the fact that third base is so shallow, as we'll see diving into the position, I do think that you could consider taking Jose Ramirez over Bobby Witt, just considering how deep the shortstop position is. But that's totally personal preference. I think you'll get a good amount of production out of both of them going into 2026. And then going over to tier 2, 3 guys in tier 2 for the third base position. I'm going to start right at the top. Junior Caminero. Last year, 45 home runs, 7 stolen bases, 110 RBIs, 93 runs, 264 average, and a 311 on base percentage. Caminero really, really hit well, especially at home in that ballpark, that minor league ballpark last year that Tampa Bay played at, and that definitely benefited him a lot. He is going off the board a little bit later than Ramirez, which is justified for sure, around pick 17 off the board. So middle of the second round, I guess you could say, in a 10 or 12 team league, at the 1-2 turn in a 15 team league. And we will dive in to his Baseball Savant page. He hits the ball really, really hard. That's one thing that probably won't change. He's done that all through the minors as well, and makes really hard contact. So 92nd percentile average exit velocity, 100th percentile in bat speed. So hits the ball really hard, is going to hit a lot of home runs regardless of the ballpark. But I do think that there could be some regression as far as power goes for Caminero. If we look at his splits from last year, if we go to home and away games, So at home, he hit 313 with a 358 on base percentage. Away, he hit 218 with a 266 on base percentage. So definitely was much better at home, although he did actually hit one more home run on the road than he did at home. So that could be indicating his power might stay relatively the same. I do think that his hitting overall might take a dip, though. Now going back to Tropicana Field, which has historically not been the best place to hit. So I could see maybe this regressing a little bit, this average and on-base percentage. Overall, last year, he hit 264 with a 311 on-base percentage. I could see the on-base percentage maybe falling a little bit. Same with average. In 2024 through 165 at-bats, he hit 248. His XBA was also 255. So I could see some regression there from the average, maybe 255 batting average with like a 300 on-base percentage. But power should still be there. I still expect that to stay relatively the same. Maybe some regression, maybe 35 to 40 home runs is a little more realistic for Caminero, but still a solid pick at 17. If you could get him at the back half of the second round or even third round potentially, if he falls, that's a slam dunk pick. But for now, 17 is not a bad spot for him. And then moving on to number 3, I already did go over Jazz Chisholm in the second base tiers on YouTube. So if you want to check him out, head over to that video. Potential to go 35-35, honestly, in New York. So he has some good upside, home run wise and stolen base wise. Head over there. I think he's a little better than Manny Machado here, but probably not going to provide as much as Caminero. So that's why I have him here at 3. And then Manny Machado, I do have at 4. I was kind of debating whether to put him in this tier or the tier below, but he still provides solid power, great RBI and runs. Last year, 27 home runs, 14 stolen bases, which is pretty high for Manny Machado. I feel like it's kind of a hit or miss for stolen bases, but 95 RBIs, 91 runs, 275 average, and a 335 on base percentage. And he is going around pick 29. Chisholm is going around pick 22. So I am pretty much in line with ADP here. I do like Machado, I feel like a little more than consensus though. I think 29 is a great spot for Machado. If we go over to his StatCast page, pretty much all the underlying metrics back up what he did in 2025. Still hits the ball relatively hard at age 33. 84th percentile in bat speed, 92nd percentile in hard hit percentage. So I'm not concerned about his power. He's been right around 30-ish home runs in the past 3 years each. The one thing I could see coming down a little bit is his stolen bases. 14 in 2025, 11 in 24, and only 3 in 23. So, and he's got 13% sprint speed. So I feel like that, and that's obviously not telling the story of everything, but I think that could regress slightly. But I don't think his power will, and I don't think his RBI or runs will that much in the Padres lineup. So that's why I still like Machado there around pick 30 in ADP. All right, tier 3. I got 3 more players in tier 3. And it's kind of an interesting mix of players here. I have Austin Riley at 5, who I think will just have a bounce back season in 2025, honestly. Or 2026, excuse me. Only 16 home runs last year, 2 stolen bases, 54 runs and RBIs, and then 260 average and a 309 on base percentage. And I really think something was just off with Riley last season. Still hit the ball really hard. Exit velo was great. Bat speed was great. And we've seen that he can provide, 30 plus home run power. So He did play only 102 games last year. So I think if he gets that on track, obviously some injuries kind of derailed his season, but he was, before these two past seasons, he was pretty consistent and consistently hitting 30 plus home runs. And I don't know if he can get back to like 37 home runs, but I could see a 30 home run season if he stays healthy. I also think that the on base percentage and average can both improve slightly. If we go back to when he was healthy and hitting 30 plus home runs, you can see his xWOBA and xBA were super high here in 22 and 23. And then 24 is where he had some trouble, but his underlying metrics still stayed relatively the same. 367 xWOBA, 265 xBA, and was still hitting the ball hard. And then really the only thing that changed was his xWOBA and BA. I think something was just a little bit off because still hit the ball really hard when he made contact. Just needs to get back to that going into 2026. And Riley is sitting right around pick 60 on average. I think it's a pretty good discount for someone who was being drafted, up here around Manny Machado in 2023, 2024 seasons. But just having those two seasons in 23 and 24 and 25 do scare me slightly. But I think if he gets back to the power, I don't see him underperforming that pick at around 60. So I really wouldn't mind that. And then at 6 in tier 3, I do have Maikel Garcia. This is a little mix of power and speed. 16 home runs last year, 23 stolen bases, 74 RBIs, 81 runs, 286 average, and a 351 on base percentage. So if you're looking for a guy who can do pretty much everything, including batting average and getting on base, Garcia looks to be a pretty solid option. I just would not expect anything crazy as far as home runs and stolen bases. I think that his stolen base upside is pretty legit. But his sprint speed's only around 63rd percentile. If we go to 2024, that backs it up too. He has stolen 37 bases though, did that in 2024. So he has that upside. The power, on the other hand, probably will not be there, although he is only 25 years old. So things can change. I believe 16 home runs last year was his career high. Yeah. So he hit 4 home runs in 2023, 7 in 2024, and 16 in 25. It is a good trend for him, just showing that his power has increased with age. But his underlying statistics really did not back up that. Hard hit percentage, bat speed, all about average. Barrel percentage is only 21st percentile. So nothing here really saying that he hits the ball super hard. He does square the ball up a lot, 98th percentile in squared up percentage, which is nice. But if you're not hitting the ball hard, it's probably not equaling home runs. But he does have, I would say he has, 20 to 25, 20 homer, 25 stolen base upside. If you're averaging out the stolen bases from the past few years. So that's a solid player. And like I said, batting average will be pretty high. On base percentage has tended to be high. A little bit of an outlier in 2024. But 23 and 25 above 320. So that's not a negative in his game. Garcia's going right after Austin Riley at pick 69. I would probably take Riley's upside, although Garcia does provide some speed. So if you are looking for some speed from the third base position, he also plays second short in outfield. So he's eligible there. So might take him just as a guy you can plug in at several different positions. And then the last guy I have in tier 3 is Eugenio Suarez. 49 home runs last year, 4 stolen bases, 118 RBIs, 91 runs, 228 average, and a 298 on base percentage. And he had an incredible season as far as power goes last year. Let's go to his StatCast page. So he started on the D-backs last year, then got traded to the Mariners. And then he just signed with the Reds in the offseason. So pretty much going from a not home run friendly ballpark in Seattle to a really home run friendly ballpark in Cincinnati. If we look at his StatCast page here, though, there's definitely some holes in that, although he has backed up what he's done in several of the past seasons. So 2024, he hit 30 home runs. Obviously, last year, 49. But if we look at his seasons year over year, he's got consistent 25-plus home run seasons over the past, 8 seasons. So it's really, really consistent as far as power goes. Obviously, that will bring RBIs. And now being in Cincinnati, I really would expect another 30-plus home run season at least from Suarez. Does hit the ball pretty hard, barrels the ball up. Bat speed's not ideal, but he is a little older, so I'm not surprised that the bat speed's not that great. The one thing I do worry about is average is on a pretty bad trend downwards. Just if we're looking over the past couple of years, like it's the lowest it's been. XBA was 211 last year, and that could improve in Cincinnati. That definitely could happen, but I would not count on it. Same with his on-base percentage. 298 is kind of hard to take in a roto league. But for a points player, I would probably be jumping all over Suarez just for the home run upside. And even with that, he's still being drafted around pick 92. So there's significant home run upside with Suarez. Probably a lot more than Alex Bregman, who's going right after him. So that's something to consider around pick 92 there. If you don't have a third baseman, could be a good option. He is the last guy in my tier 3. So I do like him much more than Bregman. Going to tier 4, I do have Alex Bregman in this tier at 8 here. Last year, 18 home runs, 1 stolen base, 64 runs, 62 RBIs, 273 average, and a 360 on base percentage. That on base percentage is nice to have, 360 if you're playing in a OBP league. It does provide a pretty good batting average, higher than all these guys I have in this tier here. I will get to Jordan Westburg. He will definitely have to move down in these tiers. He's going to be out for a few months, so I will get to that when we get to number 10 here. But for Alex Bregman, very interesting profile. Played for the Red Sox last year, now going to Chicago. And 2023 and 24, he had 25, 26 home runs, and then that dipped to 18 last year. And he is 31 now. Really does not have the hard hit and bat speed he once had. If we go down here to like 2022, I think his bat speed definitely was higher at points. 2025 last year was in the 31st percentile. So, and playing at Wrigley, I think he's going to have some trouble hitting some home runs. Although his on-base percentage has been pretty consistent over his career. More like a 350 on-base percentage guy than that 315 in 2024. So I do expect that to be there. I expect the runs and RBIs to be there. He should be hitting in the middle of the lineup for Chicago, but you're not going to get any stolen bases, and power might be on the decline. So I really don't think you can expect him getting back to that 25 home run mark. If he's sitting at around 20, I can definitely see that happening. But just looking at these metrics here, bat speed, hard hit percentage, I find it really hard for him to get back to 25 home runs. And if we look at his career here, bunch in Houston, then he comes over to Boston, his power declines, also getting a year older. So I don't expect that to tick up. But like I said, on base percentage over here, I mean, he's really a 350 to 360 on base percentage guy, which is hard to find in the rankings here. If we go over to the other third baseman in this tier here, it's going to be a significant outlier for Bregman. So that's kind of why I did push him up here. I think the runs and RBIs will be there in a full season with Chicago. So I'll definitely like him at 8 here, first in tier 4. And then at 9, I do have Matt Chapman. Really 2 back-to-back seasons of good production. 21 home runs last year, 9 stolen bases, 76 runs, 61 RBIs, 231 average, and a 340 on base percentage. He has really put together a few good seasons in San Francisco. If we go over to his StatCast page, 27 home runs in 24, 21, and 25. He did deal with some injury last year. Only played 128 games. So he was pretty much on pace for what he did in 24, but just didn't play as many games. And most of his underlying metrics back up what he did. If we go to 24, he kind of peaked. Hard hit percentage was great. Bat speed was excellent. Bat speed dipped a little bit. Hard hit percentage dipped a little bit. But he did get hurt, so he could have been dealing with some sort of injury. I like the on-base percentage. I think his power should be there if he stays healthy. He's coming into the season healthy. I would expect 20-plus home runs, 10 stolen bases in a full season, in like 150 games. Obviously, if he misses time, that would regress slightly. But I do like Matt Chapman in 2026. He is going, let's see where he's going. So he's 11th off the board at pick 146 on average. So definitely significantly below Suarez, Bregman, even Noelvi Marte, who I have not got to yet. This Jordan Westburg ADP will definitely fall now that he's going to miss a significant amount of time. That's just not updated yet. And we'll get to him now. Jordan Westburg, power was there last year, 17 home runs, but did miss time and will be probably starting the season on the IL. I think he's dealing with some sort of oblique strain or something. There's been several different injuries for Jordan Westburg, and he really can't stay healthy. I'm gonna have to move him to the next tier down. He showed some promise in 2024. 18 home runs, 6 stolen bases. His sprint speed's still excellent. I really don't know. He just has to stay healthy. And coming into the season not healthy, it doesn't really give me much hope there. But he really should be stealing more bases than he does. Like one last year, he's got 89% percentile sprint speed. As far as hitting goes, everything looks okay. He's probably a 15 to 20 homer guy if he can actually play a full season, but we haven't seen that yet. So I don't really have much faith in Westburg, especially now coming into the season, not healthy. So like I said, he'll probably move down somewhere in tier 5. I haven't really decided yet, but he'll move down there somewhere. At 11 in Tier 4, I do have Noelvi Marte, 14 home runs, 10 stolen bases, 51 runs, 51 RBIs, 45 runs, 263 average, and a 300 on base percentage. Marte is super fun. Being drafted here at pick 144 on average, around the 10th third baseman off the board. And he obviously has had a history of some trouble. Had the PED suspension, but has shown that he can produce in the majors. In only 90 games last year, 14 home runs, 10 stolen bases is pretty impressive. I think his stolen base upside is even a little bit higher if he decides he wants to run. In a full season, if he gets there, I think he could steal probably 15 to 20 stolen bases. And then his underlying metrics as far as hitting are not great. He didn't qualify in 23 and 24. He doesn't hit the ball super hard, really doesn't have a great average exit velocity, but he does play in Cincinnati, 14 home runs last year. So there's definitely some power upside. I wouldn't expect like 25 to 30 home runs, but I think he'd get to 20 home runs for sure, considering he had 14 in just 90 games last year. Home and away were even, seven home runs on the road and at home. So I guess the Cincinnati ballpark really didn't help him that much last year, which is kind of surprising. So I think there's a good amount of upside with him as far as home run, stolen bases, but I wouldn't expect it. I also wouldn't expect a very high batting average or on-base percentage. He really hasn't shown that he can provide that. Let's see career. So if you combine all his 3 seasons, I mean, he's a career 254 average and a 294 on-base percentage. And it's definitely lagging because of 2024, but in 25, where he played most of his games, he was around 300 as far as on-base percentage. So I wouldn't count on that. Do I think he's a good option at third base with some upside? For sure. He's still only 24, so I wouldn't mind taking a flyer on him. At 12, I do have Max Muncy. Last year, 19 home runs, 4 stolen bases, 48 runs, 67 RBIs. Phenomenal on-base percentage, which is why I really like Max Muncy. 376 on-base percentage. That's hard to find anywhere. Good in points leagues, good in a Rota league with OBP as a category. But if we go to where he's being drafted, pick 205 on average, around the 18th third baseman off the board, and I'm not really sure why. Pretty much all of his hitting metrics back up his power. Obviously, he has to stay healthy. Only played 100 games in 2025, but when he's actually playing on the field, he's an elite hitter. A great on-base percentage, hits the ball hard. Like, bat speed's not excellent, but his hard hit percentage is 92nd percentile. Average exit velocity is well above average. And he's proven that he can hit 30 home runs. Did it in 2023. Obviously a little older, but was an older prospect to start with. I do like Max Muncy. I think he can provide a solid amount of power in a great lineup, bunch of RBIs, and give you a good on-base percentage as well. All right, tier number 5 consists of 4 guys, and I'm definitely unsure of what all these guys can do. I probably would slot Jordan Westburg in tier 5 here somewhere, just given the injury. Probably towards the end, just because he's already coming into the season with that injury. Up at the top, I am going to start with Akamoto, coming over from Japan. He has shown that he has some big power in the NPB league. 27 and I think he was between 27 and 41 home runs in like 7 straight seasons in the Japanese league, but there's probably not going to be actually much data for him. We can look at where he's being drafted though. Being drafted around 187, he's got big power upside, but I don't know if that will translate to the majors. Sometimes it's kind of a hit or miss with these power hitters that come over. Usually they have a high strikeout rate or their strikeout rate jumps. So he might be able to hit for power, but he might strike out a lot, might have a low average or a low on-base percentage. But knowing that he's hit 27 home runs or 27 or more home runs in like 6 or 7 straight seasons, I think it's a solid option down, at third base 13 off the board. It's worth taking a flyer, especially hitting in a pretty good lineup in Toronto now. And then at 14, I do have Isaac Paredes. Last year, 20 home runs, no stolen bases, 53 RBIs, 53 runs, a 254 average, and a 352 on base percentage. Paredes has played pretty well over the past couple seasons. I don't believe he can really stay on the field, though. If we go over to his StatCast page here, only 102 games last year with Houston. Dealt with some injury, but you can see in 2024, he did play a full season, 19 home runs, a stolen base for Tampa Bay and Chicago. I really had some high hopes for him a few years ago, but I feel like his power is kind of capped at this point. Doesn't really make great contact, doesn't hit the ball that hard. Like, squared up percentage is average. Bat speed's bottom of the barrel. Hard hit percentage is bottom of the barrel. You can see on his spray chart here, he pulls the ball like crazy. Oh, if we go over here, you can see he pulls the ball like crazy on this spray chart here. So he can definitely pull a bunch of home runs, but I don't think I can see him getting back to 30 plus home runs like he did in 2023. And then to wrap up tier 5, I do have Addison Barger and Royce Lewis. Barger had a great end of the season, especially in the postseason. In the regular season, he hit 21 home runs, 4 stolen bases, 61 runs, 74 RBIs. And he had a good postseason, like I said. Only a 300 on-base percentage. So that's kind of a little concerning. But if we do go over to Barger, StatCast metrics look pretty good. Still young, only 26 years old, and hits the ball hard, bat speed's high. He does chase, and he strikes out a decent amount. So that's a big downside of his game. And then obviously his average and on-base percentage is a concern, but it does look like he slightly underperformed what his expected stats were in 2025. So I could see that jump up a little bit. Maybe the on-base percentage gets to 310, 315 in 2026 with still a good amount of power. Definitely has 20 home run upside like he did already last year. I would not count on speed for Barger, but that 20 home runs will be nice, given that you're taking him, down here at around the 15th third baseman off the board. And then 16, I do have Royce Lewis. Awesome upside, just can never stay healthy. 13 home runs, 12 stolen bases last year, 36 runs, 52 RBIs, and then really low average and on-base percentage. Yeah, that was really low. If we go to look at his underlying metrics, another guy who's just kind of doesn't do anything excellent, but he has shown that he's got some power. He plays so infrequently. 106 games last year was his highest in his career. But if you take 24, he hit 16 home runs. I mean, if you double that in a full season, he's a 30 home run guy. So if he stays healthy, he can do it. But he's proven over the past 4 seasons that he can't stay healthy. And that will probably reflect in his ADP down here at 201. Like I said, great option if he stays on the field. He's got power and speed, but he has never shown that he can do that. But if you're sitting down here looking for, a high upside third baseman, I wouldn't be opposed to taking him. If you wait and take a Matt Chapman who's pretty steady, you could definitely take Royce Lewis to have that ceiling option at the third base position while still having a high floor with Matt Chapman in San Francisco. And then moving on to the last tier, a bunch of names, big glob of players that are all pretty much relatively the same for me. I went over a few of these guys in the second base preview, but we'll start with Alec Boehm at 17. Last year, only 11 home runs, 2 stolen bases, 59 RBIs, 53 runs, 287 average, and a 331 on base percentage. Boehm is interesting because he's probably going to hit in the heart of the Phillies lineup, which should give him an opportunity to drive in a bunch of runs. And he has shown that he has 20 homer power. And if we go back and look at some of the guys we already went over, he's got areas where he really, really excels. Squares the ball up at an elite level, hits the ball pretty hard. At least it's above average. Average exit velocities above average, and he's peaked at 20 home runs in 2023. So, I think he can, in a full season, he can get back to 15 to 20 home runs. Last year, only 120 games. So, was dealing with a little bit of an injury. But if he plays a full season, I think he has a pretty safe floor at around 15 home runs in a full season. I don't think that he'll hit any less than that. But you're probably not going to get any more than 20. So he's a safe option. Probably will drive in a bunch of runs if he stays in the 4 or 5 hole for the Phillies. And you can probably get him at a pretty good price. Down here at pick 247 on average. The 23rd third baseman off the board here. And then going to 18, I do have Caleb Durbin, who is a little bit of power speed combo, 53 RBIs, 60 runs, 256 average, and a 334 on base percentage. And I debated putting Durbin over Boehm just for the stolen base upside because he's shown that he can steal bases, and Boehm will not do that. But the downside with Caleb Durbin is that he's moved to Boston, and his hitting, all his underlying metrics, do not back up even 11 home runs. Doesn't hit the ball hard, doesn't hit the sweet spot. He does square the ball up. Don't really understand how squared up percentage is that much different than the sweet spot. But yeah, the 11 home runs really weren't backed up. The 18 stolen bases, I think he can replicate again, but I also don't know how much playing time he'll get in Boston. Played 136 games. I think he could pretty much repeat what he did, but his RBI and run total probably will not be as good as Alec Boehm's in a full season. So that's why I have him down here at 18, just behind Alec Boehm. If we do go back to where he's being drafted, I believe, yeah, he's being drafted even later than Boehm, picked 255 on average, so about a round past Alec Boehm. And then at number 19, I do have Miguel Vargas. 16 home runs, 6 stolen bases, 80 runs, 60 RBIs, 234 average with a 316 on base percentage. And he actually put together a pretty good season last year with the White Sox. Was a Dodger and then got traded over to Chicago, I believe, last year or the year before. Yeah, 2024 got traded over. But really put together a pretty good season. And there's some things to like with Vargas. He's obviously still going to be hitting in a pretty poor White Sox lineup, but he did hit 16 home runs, stole some bases last year, and put together an overall pretty good season. Down here in this range of third baseman, you're not going to get a guy really that can give you 80 runs. Like I can see 80 runs, 60 RBIs. He can definitely repeat that. The White Sox lineup did get even better too. So I would like him down here at a low pick. He's all the way down here at pick 306. So I wouldn't expect anything crazy, but I think Vargas could be a solid option at third base. And then I did go over Brett Baty and Colt Keith both in the second base preview already. So if you did miss that, definitely tune into or go over to the second base preview. You can find that there. I do like them better than these last three here. Just to wrap it up, I do have Mark Vientos, Carlos Correa down here. Both solid options. Vientos, I actually had some hope in. He has some power to his game. I think he could get back to like 20 home runs, but no speed. Same with Correa. But if you're looking for some upside, I would consider Mark Vientos. And then if you're looking for a nice floor, I think Carlos Correa could be a good option as well. And then Jose Caballero I went over in the second base preview as well. So head over there if you did miss that. And that wraps up the third base preview, 1 through 24. My tiers are obviously right here and then also over on Twitter. So if you did like all of that, hit the like button. We'll be back shortly with shortstop tiers in the near future.